Run up with my fucking Reebok highs, dude, to this fence. Start trying to scale it. It's got the pieces of plastic that go in between the fence. Bro, I'm sliding down this thing. There's just like, dude, it's literally probably like 8 or 9 feet with razor wire.
Louis Espinoza grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut, surrounded by chaos. With a mother in and out of jail battling addiction, Louis dropped out of high school and fell into the streets. After years of trouble, he landed in prison for a third time at just 22 years old. But 3 months into his sentence, he made a life-changing decision. He tried to escape. Captured just hours later, Louis faced the reality of prison life. Today, he shares his unbelievable story of growing up in dysfunction, doing time, attempting a prison escape, and ultimately turning his life around. Lou, welcome to Locked In, man, a fellow Connecticut resident.
Yes, sir.
Thanks so much for reaching out and coming on the show, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. I've been getting into podcasts, and I peeped yours, and I was like, that seems like something I could do, you know?
Yeah, so. It's so cool how like accessible social media has made things. I mean, we're from Connecticut, never met each other until today.
Well, how old are you?
Reach out, 30.
You're 30, I'm 32, so we grew up in the generation before all this, so it's really cool, you know?
Yeah, meeting a stranger like this would be frowned upon, 15 years ago.
Well, even to the degree where it's like, you know, just all the tech and stuff like that, how somebody could watch this once it's put up right from their phone. Like back in the day, I remember waiting for Power Rangers to come on, you know what I mean? So it's super cool.
Yeah, and I always used to grow up like intimidated by YouTube. I was like, I'd never be a YouTuber or
right,
anything.
Right.
And now here I am posting on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, it's sick.
It's crazy how life works
It's
out.
cool that people can build like a foundation off that and careers off of it, though. It blows my mind.
Mm-hmm. It still blows my mind to this day, and I'm at the bottom of the barrel. There's like a whole bigger field out there.
Right.
So it's interesting to see. Where'd you grow up in Connecticut?
So I was born and raised in Waterbury, Connecticut, St. Mary's Hospital. I only had my mom in my life. My father was never around. From there, I went to upstate New York for a while to live with my grandmother because my mom actually did jail time. So I went from Waterbury to upstate New York, was in Willimantic for a year, and then Bristol was like where I grew up, like as like prepubescent, you know what I mean? Like that's where I made all my friends, you know, he's from Bristol, you know what I mean? But yeah, essentially just, you know, Connecticut 203-860, I reside in both.
That's why you're a Chris Webby fan.
Huh?
That's why you're a Chris Webby fan.
Yeah. Chris Webby's awesome. I love Toad's Place. I've always gone there, and you know, I love all types of music. So, you know.
Yeah, definitely got to check out that Chris Webby interview.
Yeah, no, for sure. Chris Webby's a man, dude. You know, he's friends with a kid that I knew out in Southington, Jid on the track.
Yeah, I booked Jid at Toad's
Yeah, Jid is really cool.
Ago,
I know Jid
2013.
personally, like not personally, but he knows where I'm from and I know where he's from, and it's cool.
World.
We know the same people. But
what'd your mom go to jail for?
So my mom, she grew up with a lot of trauma through my grandmother and just her life with her siblings. So like, I'm pretty sure at that point in time when I was in Waterbury, I believe it was stealing. Like my mom was always like a big con artist and like always tried to get over. Nicest woman ever. But when it came to like big stores or, you know, she used to work at McDonald's, and if she seen a family not doing so great, she'd give them free food and stuff like that. But stealing, my mom was a big booster. I'll say that, like big level booster.
Did she have a drug addiction at all?
So that didn't happen until later on in my life when she started messing around like that. She was always about her money, though. You know what I mean? She was big on her money, and she was a hustler, like in every shape and form. My mom was like a gangster and a hustler, like my entire life, even when it started to go bad with her drug addiction and, you know, trauma stirring back up later on.
Did you know anything about jail, prison, anything
So
like that?
I remember at a young age going to see my mom from my visits from upstate New York and my grandma's to Connecticut through family members, and it was just rough because it's my mom and she's like all I knew pretty much, you know? So it's like, I just remember there was a point in time, like I remember one Christmas I like wished to Santa that like my mom would get out of jail. You know what I mean? Like it was rough, but you know, it was only for a year, but it seems like it was forever because my mom was my number one,
Did kids tease you for that? Give you a hard time?
No, I never really got teased in school. I kind of kept to myself, and like, I don't know, I was an only child. My brother died when I was like before I was born, so like I was very kept to myself. Like I liked my Pokemon, I liked my, you know, my own devices to keep me busy and keep me out of my own head, and I had friends that did the same, and those are the people I went to, you know what I mean? Um, been a pattern throughout my life of finding my own devices, good or bad, and then sticking myself in with people that do those things.
You said your dad wasn't in the picture.
Yeah,
Was
my
he in?
father, I don't know his story. I opened the door for him once later on in life when my first daughter was born. He pulled up, and I pretty much told him, I said, hey, we're never really going to create anything, but if you want to be involved, to be able to share the heritage of Ecuador and stuff, because he's Ecuadorian. So I let him be a part of her life, showed up, took a picture with her once, probably met her 3 or 4 times after that, never bothered. So I just cut off complete communication with him.
When you were visiting your mom in prison, did you ever expect to see yourself there?
So to be honest, no. To be honest, for a while, like, I knew that I was going to become something great, and I always assumed that like jail was the one place I would never wind up, just because I was a soft as a little kid. I didn't see myself ever getting really into trouble, or if it was always I was brought into trouble. You know what I mean? It wasn't until later on that I like noticed another pattern where put myself around the wrong people. You know.
What would you say was your favorite childhood memory?
My favorite childhood memory, hands down, sheesh. Um, Favorite childhood memory, man. What age are we talking? You know what I mean?
Any age.
I don't know. Probably playing manhunt with my buddies in the woods. I always lived around woods, whether it be in Bristol and stuff like that, or upstate New York. So playing in the woods, like I always liked playing in the woods with my friends and like just wasting away in there. Waste a whole day. Boom, just manhunt, building forts, stuff like that.
What do you think was your worst memory?
My worst memory from childhood. I don't know, anytime seeing my mom cry or anything. There was points in life where my mom cried, and she always explained it to me later on and stuff, but like just seeing people sad in general, like my mom, people I love, seeing them upset. I've had some deaths in the family. My Uncle Brian passed away when I was really young, and just being around that was like so like otherworldly to me. Like my mom always tried to keep me safe, essentially, from the outside stuff, and it's like when it's family and your loved one crying in front of you, how do you stay safe from that? So probably just in general, like tragedies and being close to my mom and seeing her upset. But yeah.
Knowing everything you know now, do you think your mom was a good parent to you?
My mom was a great parent to me, and she did the best with what she could do. Do I think that I could have been raised better to a degree? I mean, sure, but it's like my mom was always there and she always thugged it out. So the way I perceive it is it could have been way worse. You know what I mean? Like I was around kids whose parents didn't get them stuff, or didn't have a Christmas, or didn't, just the little things, and like when you're little, you don't realize it, but those little things is your mom trying to give you like a good childhood, and now that I'm older and I have children, I'm like, wow, like I know what comes with it now. Like it's a lot bigger than just, you know, oh yeah, like Easter eggs in a basket. Awesome. I get this every year. But it's like, nah, man, like your mom worked mad hours to make sure you get that every year. Like the consistency and my mom was the best, man. Hands down.
Do you think your mom taught you the difference between right and wrong, or do you think that's something she neglected to do?
My mom was real tough. My mom was very tough. She was very hood. My mom was very hood. She was a white woman, but she held the hood element of this is what you do. And if you fall out of that and you don't do that, you're a clown and you don't deserve the time. So like me growing up, like bad decisions, like I remember the first time I got beat up in the projects, I came in crying and she's like, dude, you better do something about that. Cause you're not gonna come in here crying like you're 11 years old, bro. Like I ain't got time for it. So I fucking hit the kid and the other kid with a fucking cinder block. You know what I mean? That was my one up, but like I didn't get grounded for it. She was like, hey, you stood on your ground. Just now you got to look behind your back because like it never stops, you know? So my mom was very like, she tried to make me a man even though she wasn't a man in a sense. You know what I mean?
What do you think was the most important lesson she taught you?
The most important lesson is to watch patterns and watch people. Watch the people that you keep in your corner and, you know, learn the lesson one time. I still struggle with that. I still, to this day, I've always been hard-headed. Can't even count on any of my limbs how many times I've gone to my mom and said, hey, like, I'm stuck with this problem. And she's like, I fucking told you. Like, didn't we do this last year? Didn't we do this the year before? Remember this? And I told you that? What's going on with you? But when I'm happy, she's like, yeah, see, this is what it's for. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like without really saying it, my mom kind of set me up for life where it's like, hey, when it's bad, it's going to get bad. But that's why when it's good in the moment, you don't take it for granted.
Tell us about that shift when you started maybe hanging out with a bad crowd or started getting into some trouble.
I started smoking pot like really young. My mom did, and like I remember going. It's funny because my boy in the other room right now, he's one of the first people I smoked with downtown Bristol as a kid. And I just remember like I started skateboarding, started having fun with that. And then it brought me to the kids that used to chill in the back streets, that used to, you know, ride mopeds, get into trouble, fight and stuff like that. I started chilling with this kid named Mark. He brought me around this kid, Joey, that I'm still currently friends with. And we were skateboard kids, and he was like, yo, we're going to smoke some blunts. I'm like, all right, well, I don't do that, but I do now, I guess. So we would get all high and slap box and shit and just... It's just hysterical, but essentially, like, I want to say it was around like 14, 15, you know, my mom winded up taking a drive with me one day to drop me off over that area, and she would give me money, and I'd be like, all right, cool, can I get this much? And she'd be like, be honest, are you smoking? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, what are you smoking on? And I was like, weed. She's like, all right. She's like, I smoke weed. Why do you think I've kept you out of that room during family get-togethers for fucking years? And I was like, okay. So she used to give me some mids. Like, she would give me weed all the time and stuff. She's like, listen, as long as you're being cool and not doing anything crazy, I don't care, you know? But yeah, that's 14, 15 is when I started to be around certain people. And, like, it's taken years to, like, cut out certain people, even from childhood, you know, like certain people went the other way during life, you know, I couldn't keep them around. I had to learn not to keep them around in a sense, you know what I mean?
Do you think weed had a big impact on what was to come
I
in the
mean,
future?
dude, I remember being in 8th grade and they're like, yo, it's a gateway drug. And I'm just like, or I could just go fucking smoke crack if I want. Like, weed can't be that crazy. You know what I mean? And like, I just remember, you know, they weren't that far off because weed introduced me to a whole nightlife of everything else that came with partying and having fun. But yeah, I'd like to say that I started pretty young, like, you know, those ages is when you're still developing, you know what I mean? So
Do you think weed just opened up your horizons to give you that craving for something more?
I feel like because I'm an only child, it gave me like a social status amongst friends that like I always sought after. Like I always wanted to be a kid that was like picked, you know? I always wanted to be a kid that had a bunch of friends and be in that social realm of like importance. So that's kind of what I fell into, and then, you know, eventually it spiraled, you know?
Tell us what happens next.
After that,
Yeah.
whew, man, this might take 2 podcasts. So, you know, grew up, I lived in a house with my mom and my stepfather, who she met online in a chat log. He worked at ESPN. We went from apartment to a house, like one of the nicest houses I've ever been in my life. We winded up in it right at the top of Bristol, next to Bristol Central High School. I had the spot, man. We had an in-ground pool. You know, at one point I worked with my mom. She was a CNA. You know, I had my own money. She set me up with a job through that. You know, I'd go to lake compounds all the time, fuck around with my friends, go to parties, but I was good. Like, I was leveled out in my head and everything was good. And just somewhere along the way, I don't know if maybe I was hitting a growth spurt or my hormones, but bro, I just started hating everything. Like, at one point or another, that's the only thing I could like look back and chalk it up as, is that like, dude, like I just started being negative about a lot of things. And if it wasn't like about me and what I was doing, I want nothing, like no parts. So like going into high school, like my mom was like, you need to make sure you get your ass there. You live right across the street. And I'd be like, okay, go there. This fucking sucks. I don't want to be here. Leave. You know, go fuck around, go street skate. Me and my buddies. Then that slowly turned into resentment towards my stepfather, resentment towards her, ran away from home a lot. And like, you know, mind you, I'm chilling with kids that their parents don't give a fuck what they do. My parents did. I just chose to hang out with them because I thought it was cooler. I embraced my friends more than I did my family at one point. And the only thing I could think of is like hormones growing up, mixed emotions about my father, but that was nothing that I could target back then. You know what I mean? I was just on free roam. You know what I mean? But started getting into partying, and eventually their marriage broke up. And when that happened, my mom started messing around with drugs, and it just got super messy. The old Waterbury life started to merge in with the Bristol on her side, and you know, he was drinking every day. You know, it was bad. And it was like all that time they were trying to make sure I went to school, and I was just like, I'm not fucking going to school. It's lame. Like, I'm going to be fine. And my stepdad used to be like, hey, but what are you going to do? Like, when you turn 18, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'll figure it out. And I really didn't. I didn't take the time to sit down and think what I wanted to do throughout my teen years. So getting thrown in my 20s, I was like, wow, I'm just working jobs. I'm just working this job, that job, any job that'll hire me until I fuck it up and look for the next one. But at one point, my mom had gotten locked up again, and that's when she started getting full-fledged into boosting because it coincided with her drug use, the people she went around, and my mom already had the back history with all the store owners in Waterbury. So it was inevitable. I didn't realize it, but like my mom would pull up with a wad of money, give me a few hundred, and fuck off, and she would pull off in her RX-8. Yeah, my mom drove an RX-8. It was pretty cool. You know, but she would give me some money and I'd be like, all right, whatever, didn't ask questions. And then one day it was like when I was little, she just wasn't there one day. And I was like, oh, fuck. So it was me and my stepfather stuck in the house. We started to hit a foreclosure. I was getting older. I was becoming more socially aware and socially popular. So I would have kids cut school, come across the street and party at my house. Started getting into drugs, weed, coke, e-pills, sold those for years. Got plugged in, you know, essentially turned the house into a trap. And while I was being foreclosed, like we had a lot of close calls with the police and stuff, but they can never, my mom always taught me that if the cops come to your house, just you meet them at the door and say, what do you need? Do you have a warrant? Do you have any reason to be looking for anybody? No? Okay, bye. So like cops would come to the house and they would try to do like, oh yeah, we heard noise. Mind if we come in? And it's like, yeah, not here, dude. Not here, big dog. You got to go, you know, and I've known that since I was like 15, 16. So mind you, I'm having these violently wild fucking house parties with like, I remember one time I had one, dude. I started drinking Captain Morgan's during the day. And we had girls from Southington come up. And I remember it was like 4:00, dude, and I'm puking it all over myself in my bed. And I'm just like, I'm having people over tonight. This is bad. I crashed, and people just started coming to my house. So at one point during the night, after I recovered from getting sick and stuff, I literally went up to the I went up to the second floor and I was like, all right, one, two. It's like, that's like 20 people between both rooms smoking. Okay, let me go downstairs. Went into the living room, kitchen, and dining room, and other room, 30. And then I went downstairs to the finished basement, 20. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, dude, I'm at like 62 heads right now in my house alone. And I got an entire backyard of people. But yeah, one of those times, cops came and it became a procedure. Cops are here, duck down, because we had a fence. Would have them duck behind the fence and just be quiet. So they would be raving, see the cops, then there would be no sound, and it would be me or a friend and be like, yeah, there's no party here, man. And the cops would be like, dude, like, we're not doing this. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. Cops would leave, start right back up again. But at that point, we would get people out, like. But so many times I've had a party on that street and, dude, there were college kids pulling up, like hanging around a bunch of 14 and 15-year-olds, like drinking UV blue and fucking Steel Reserves. You know what I mean? So I could go on for days about stories about that, but I'll start to continue more. At one point, I started hanging around a bunch of older guys from the hood, and they were really cool. They looked after me. They taught me a lot. But I didn't look at it in retrospect. They were 26, almost going into their 30s, hanging out with me, a 14, 15-year-old. At one point, I got talked into doing a liquor store robbery. Not robbery, a burglary. So me and this older dude, we broke into a package store. We broke down the window. He got away. I didn't. My mom, as I said before, is a gangster. I talked to her about it via jail, and she said, you better do what's fucking right. And essentially, I went into jail and didn't say a word. I was there for 3 days. I was in MYI for 3 days. Slept. Literally slept and got out, and what are we doing next? Now I got a little fucking badge of merit for going in and not saying nothing. You know what I mean? Got put on probation, and from there it just spiraled completely out of control because real things started coming into my life and I didn't know how to maneuver through those at the age I was. And most importantly, the person that cared about me the most was now gone. She was in jail. She wasn't getting out for 2.5 years. Didn't know at the time, but she was going to be doing 2.5 years.
How did you get caught specifically on that robbery?
So I was leaving a girl's house in Farmington or something. I got picked up by my friends, and we went from Farmington to Bristol, and we went to a 7-Eleven, and I was hammered. Like, I was hammed up, dude, like drunk. And at one point, the older dude I would chill with was like, yo, fuck it. He was a crash out, too. Now, later on seeing it, he was a fucking complete crash out. He's like, yo, let's go rob this fucking package store. And I was like, fuck it. Yeah. It's perfect timing. Dude, not perfect timing. It's like 10 p.m. on like, it was on Riverside Ave in Bristol. So it's like literally right next to like downtown Bristol. Like the cops are straight shot. The police department's a fucking straight shot. You know what I mean? Use my elbow to bust down the window, dude. Split my elbow open, blood everywhere. So now my DNA's everywhere, whatever. He hopped in, grabbed everything. I kept lookout. Alarms going off. He handed me some shit. And then we ran to the boulevard, which is literally just flat. Like there's trees and shit. And like, there's like a little river that goes under a road. But like, bro, this wasn't planned out. This wasn't you know what I'm saying? Fucking cops catch me in the baseball field. I try to run over a fence, dude. I got caught. Wound up in a cell, but yeah, that's essentially how it happened. He winded up getting away, making it back to my house, cut it there, and then yeah.
What was the outcome of that case?
So I winded up getting put on 3 years probation with 2 suspended, I believe, and yeah, my goal. I had a super cool probation officer, Mary Hart, out of Bristol, Connecticut. Hi, Mary, if you're watching this, I love you. And she pretty much said, "Hey, listen, just come here. I don't really care what you do. You could still be a kid. If you want to smoke, that's fine. Just come here and give me something that I could show them so that they know you're doing all right and you're not just fucking off." It's like, yeah, sure, I got you. Meanwhile, we're losing the house. I'm couch surfing. I'm dealing with girls. I'm dealing with drug dealing. I'm dealing with friends going through their shit, and I'm trying to be a good friend. Um, I wind up in an apartment condo, dealing with a whole bunch of females, start getting more into the music festival scene, where now it's like, oh, so we're dealing with e-pills. Now we're dealing with LSD and mescaline. So I was selling those things, but all the while I was doing those things. So a lot of it is like a mixed up blur. Like I remember times, and then other times I'm like, oh, and I bring it up to the people that were around, and they're like, oh no, that was that time that this happened. The following day, that other crazy shit happened. And like I said, it was just a complete mixture of chaos. And all the while, my little pocket wireless phone would blow up, and my probation officer's like, hey, you didn't come in today. What you doing? Hey, I came to your house today. You weren't there. What are you doing? Hey, you missed your appointment. You were supposed to pee for me today. What are you doing? All right. At one point, I was going through a breakup with this chick. I got super hammered. I was upset about it. But meanwhile, I was talking to another chick. So it really wasn't that important. I feel like I was just chemically unbalanced from the drugs. So my reign of importance went one way, one another, one way one day, one way to another. I winded up being in a car with one of my best friends and some chicks, and I got super upset, and I jumped out of the car while I was moving. He tried to get me back in the car. I tried to fight him. Obviously, he wasn't trying to fight me, but he slammed me. We were wrestling, essentially. I winded up tackling a mailbox. I don't know why. I think I was just blackout and didn't really know what I was doing. The cops came. I got arrested. So now reality sets in. I go to my court date, and they're like, well, you violated probation with new charges. And though they're not the same charges, they're troubling charges. So at one point, they set the clock pretty much where you're going back to jail. But we're going to continue it a few times. We're going to let you get everything in order. So I go back to my crazy life, and essentially my clock for going into jail starts. And, I'm making unimportant relationships with people and some important relationships with others. But all I remember is that one day I went to court and I didn't come back. And I turned myself in on an 18-month bid. Went inside and, got broken up with. I wound up in a cell with one of my close buddies, so that was really cool. My buddy Randy from Bristol. And, I struggled emotionally really hard my first bid. I cried. I cried a lot. Like, I was the type of kid that would crawl on the bunk and cry. Looking back now, I probably withdrawing from the drugs that I've filled my body up with for years prior to that. But I just struggled so emotionally because I just went from living one type of life to another. It was rough. I winded up getting out 9 months in TS bid.
And that was a
Nothing crazy.
juvenile detention facility?
Not juvenile. So they had an adult prison, but essentially it was made for people that are like anywhere from, like, if you did something crazy at 15 and you got tried as an adult, they're bringing you to MYI. It's jail. In my opinion, it's very similar to like a McDougal. I don't know if you know anything about McDougal,
I've heard
but
of it, yeah.
it's pretty much McDougal for kids.
Okay.
It's like Big Cheshire for kids. It's blocks. You come out and your day room's right in front of you. You know what I mean? And that's kind of when I, like, after a while, I, like, got out of my emotions, but I just seen how things were. It was a gladiator school. If you talk shit at the door to somebody that's across the wing, just know that, somebody's running in your cell or they're going to catch you at school. That was very much the dynamic. And to be honest, I kind of just stayed away from it. At that point, I kind of sat down with myself and said, what am I doing when I get out of here? Still didn't figure it out, though.
Why wasn't probation making you go to high school at all, keeping you on the right
Dude,
track?
it's crazy that you say that. I never knew. Truancy sent a letter to my mom's house early on when I didn't start going. Like, my school officer literally used to be like, why the hell isn't he going to school? Like, he's getting into fights. He's doing crazy shit. And the school cameras, dude, you could literally see my front yard. So you could see when I'm coming and going, when a whole bunch of kids are coming and going, like, you see everything from the school. Bro, they never fucked with us. I don't know if my mom scared them with her fucking legality smarts or whatever, but nothing. No truancy, no nothing. They never arrested me. They never arrested my mom, nothing.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
Well, your mom was also in prison.
Well, yeah, but this is even before the whole prison thing.
Gotcha.
Like, this was just, I don't know. You could call it negligence. You could call it fucking what it is, but it happens. So
Well, it's a big system.
I mean,
So
fair.
So now you 9 months you do in that facility. You get out. What happens?
So I get out. My mom's doing better. She's out of prison. Her and my best friend pull up. She's like, yo, I got the Carter 3. My mom loves Lil Wayne. She's like, yo, I got the Carter 3, I believe. Or maybe it was the Carter. It was the Carter 4. That's what it was. She pulled up in her RX-8 Carter 4. Time to rebuild. Time to do it right. I couldn't live with my mom, so I winded up living with my cousin Bree because my mom was an inmate. So on the TS per parole policy, I couldn't live with my mom. My mom was getting it together. Eventually, they made it so me and my mom could live together. So I moved out to Meriden. Everything was straight. I switched over to smoking K2 when it first came out, and I don't know if you're familiar, but when K2 first came out, it wasn't that dangerous. Like, you could smoke it, and it kind of got you high, but whatever. I wanted to make sure that I followed parole so I can get off parole. Started talking to a girl, winded up cheating on the girl, essentially. She was a close homie. I shouldn't even have made her my girl to begin with, but me and her got into it, and I crashed out over it. Me and her got into an argument. I was drunk at a buddy's house in Bristol, got arrested. Got sent directly back to jail. And when I got sent back to jail, I got brought to Niantic, the women's prison. But it was the men's side. So they had a level 2 men's side of Niantic for a few years. And I went there, and I was just beat up, dude. Like, I was just so tired of life handing me fucked up curveballs and shit. I remember, like, the first few days in the intake unit, I was just on my bed, minding my business. I winded up running into these 2 tiermen in that unit, and they're like, dude, you want a job? And I was like, yeah. They're like, yo, you keep to yourself. And that's super important. Like, because at this point, mind you, I just went from being around a bunch of kids to dudes that are coming down off of 10-year bids, and now they're the people around me. So they're like, we'll get you a job. You're cool. So now I kind of go into the, I always liked art. I was always into art, always did graffiti. So now I'm around dudes that are coming down off of bids that are like, yo, you ever put your hand on a tattoo gun? You want to? Start tattooing here and there. I become it wasn't a block, though. It was essentially, it looked like almost like a rehab house. It had 2 floors, and the doors, like, they just didn't have locks on them, but you had a room, was your cell. Like, so there was, like, literally, like, regular jail, like, beds and, like, metal lockers at the end of it, but it was rooms. Like, you had a window and shit. So after I get over the blues, I'm like, you know what? I got fucking 6 months in here, dude. This is sweet. I was like, let me take advantage of it. Got in touch with a close friend. She was like, yo, when you get out, you're good. You can come live with me. I was like, all right, because, mind you, my mom was back in prison again. During the time that I got locked up again, my mother was back in prison. Met this really cool dude, man. I'll never forget it. I used to call him Finito. His name was Mike Finan. R.I.P. He passed away. He had a heart attack a few years back. Old chapter fucking Latin King member. Coolest fucking guy ever. Hysterical. He put me on with a lot of the politics early on, what to do, who not to hang out with, what you could say, what you can't say to certain individuals, and what to stay away from. He tried to get me down with the Kings the first month I was around them, and I pretty much told him, I was like, my mom always told me gangs are corny. So, like, if that's going to keep you from hanging out with me, that's fine. Just, you don't have to bother with me. And something about me saying that to him, because at this point I'm like 18, years have gone by or whatnot, so I could, like, I have better dialogue, and I'm able to, like, tell people more face front value, like, nah, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm not doing. he respected it, so he stayed around me. So like there would be new people that would come in that are from like different parts and stuff, and they'd be like, "Yo, why is he so close? What is he?" And he'd be like, "He's fine. He's neutral." But Mike was like my best bud, you know what I mean? And mind you, this is a 42-year-old man, you know, coming down off 11, 12 years or some shit. He, I don't know, dude, he's beat like a murder charge, like shot somebody in 7-Eleven, beat the murder charge, whatever. I don't know. He always bragged to me. I don't feel bad about saying it because he always bragged to me about it. But he was like, yeah, I fucked up probation because I fucking tried stealing this bitch's car, and the dog was shitting on me while I was during the cop chase and stuff like that. And I was like, well, why are you explaining it like that? He was like, I was dusted. I was smoking mad dust in Hartford. I was like, oh damn, well, that's fucking crazy. So I wind up getting out of there. I kept in touch. I told him to let me know when he hit halfway. He had like 2 more years left. So I wound up back in Bristol. You would think the games are over, but they're not.
How old are you at this point?
I had to have been like 17, 18 at this point.
Okay.
So I go and live with my friend, and a blast from the past happens. I get reached out to by my cousin Tommy. We call him Guns. Guns is somebody who is currently in my life and is one of my go-to guys for everything. He's my brother, essentially. He's been locked up his whole life, so I haven't had a lot of time with me and him. But I get word on the street, Guns is coming out soon, and I'm like, sweet, awesome, because that's my go-to guy. I remember at one point he would tattoo us when I lived in the house. I robbed some kids for a lot of e-pills, and I sold them wholesale outright, and I went to him, and we spent all the money at the Waterbury Mall and went and got tattoos, splurged on it. The money was gone quicker than we could fucking get the people in the door that we robbed, pretty much. But even then I look back and I'm like, damn, like that was fucked up. But so I'm in direct communication with him, and I'm chilling, and I'm back on the bullshit essentially. You know, going into jobs. I worked as a dietary aide at a nursing home. I was dealing with this one girl. She's the one that left me in jail originally. Didn't deal with her, and all of a sudden we're back together. So now I'm living with her, and things got toxic. I moved away from her, and then she winds up getting pregnant. Boom. And I'm like, well, I've only known you for the longest time, and like I've always cared deeply about you and loved you. So like, yeah, let's have a baby. So at this point in life, I'm about to be a dad. I can't keep doing what I'm doing. It's too fucking crazy. Like I can't bring a baby around it. So now I'm starting to get my head together. I'm starting to mature. I wind up getting a job at Bizzuto's. We move in with her mom and her stepfather, and things are going good for a while. Everything was great. The baby came, healthy, beautiful baby girl. Everything was cool, and then just one day, I don't know if it was just us being around each other too much or what, and one day I just called it quits. I was like, I'm done. I think social media played a part. You know, there were pretty girls posting up on social media, and it was just one of those things where I look back and I'm like, this is just another point in time of me being selfish and me not being the man I wanted to be yet. Because essentially you know, the problems that we were having could have been figured out. And, you know, at one point or another, I still feel bad to this day, but I feel like I gave up too quick on that. So now I go and live with my mom in Meriden, lose my Bizzuto's job in the mix. I start drinking again. During that time away, I met a girl, and within like 3 or 4 months of meeting that girl, we get a place. I got a bedroom for my daughter. You know, my daughter's the apple of my eye. Everything's going great. You know, everything's going great until it wasn't. I won't go in too much into detail what happened because it's really personal between me and my children's mothers, because I respect them all and I have more than one. But essentially it was just a whole cluster of bad thing after bad thing, and more on my side because I feel like I was fighting the urge of going back to that life and also being a mature father, hardworking father. A lot of in-between jobs, everything like that. One point, I went out and, I had acid again. A buddy of mine gave me a whole bunch of acid to hold on to, and I kept it in my dashboard in a cigarette, like a e-tobacco flavoring container. And I'll never forget it. I went out to a bar in Bristol, got pulled over. He's like, "You don't have your license. How the fuck do you have a car?" And I'm like, "Well, I work. I financed a fucking car. Like, I don't know." I told him, I was like, "Dude, if you want, I got my buddy here in a minute. Come scoop me." All right. So gives me a $300 ticket. My boy comes and pick me up. I pick my other friend up from work, wind up back in my car. Drive to the bar in Bristol, proceed to get fucked up. At one point, I'm driving back in Meriden that night. My buddy told me, he's like, "Crash at my house. You're hammered. Do not get in that car because you're just asking for trouble. You were already pulled over today." I said, "Nah, I'm straight, dude. It's a straight shot, not a straight shot." Hop on 72, go towards Meriden. This is when Snapchat first came out. Looking down at Snapchat, boom, hit a fucking Jersey barrier, dude. So I'm driving, and now I'm like, driving straight. I'm like, all right, like, hopefully nobody's seeing me. Get off the Meriden exit. And where I was living in Meriden at the time with my mother, I had to loop around. I had to drive right behind the police station. I get lit up, and I just remember I was like, all right, like, what do I do? And it was fight or flight. I knew what I had in the car. I knew what it could potentially do to me. The cop got halfway up to my car and I took him. So I took the cop. The cop got halfway up. I drove, sped off. He gets back in his car, lights me up. And right behind Meriden Police Department, there's a train track because the train station's right there. Well, I guess when I hit that Jersey barrier on the highway, I broke my axle. I cracked it. So I hit that railroad track going like a smooth 50, 60 miles an hour. It completely snaps my axle. So I'm in the car and I got my foot down on the pedal and I could just see my speedometer going down. And I'm like, I'm hit. There's no chance. They wind up fucking getting me maybe I don't know, a quarter mile up the road. I hop out the car, try running. And a homeless man tackled me. This homeless guy, literally, never seen him a day in my life. Lived on the street at this point for like a year and some change now. Homeless guy, bro. I've probably given this dude money for nippers, bro. Fucking tackles me for the cops. I get tackled, fall on the ground, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck, dude? Again, crime mess, DUI. It's my first DUI. Puts me inside another spiral of just being back involved with the cops. Now I'm out of job. I'm doing jobs in between. Got more charges. And now I'm trying to think of what happened after that, because after that, I feel like is when I started messing with booze a lot. That's when I really started reaching a point in my life where I started hitting the booze real hard. So at one point or another, I'm living with this new girl. She gets pregnant. Things went bad. She winded up having a miscarriage. Me and her broke up. I got her out of my apartment in Bristol because at this point now I'm in Bristol from living with my mom. The story I just told pertained to where I live with my mom. So now I'm continuing off of me and this girl getting the apartment where I have my daughter's room and everything's coming together. I just got a nice job offer from a steel manufacturer right up the road in Bristol. It's beautiful. Everything's getting nice again. Mom's still going through this stuff. She comes in between and she needs help. She needs this, she needs that. And I'm always there for her. But at one point or another, it started to become something that was not the best for my mom. So I fell back away from my mom for a while. So this girl winded up moving out and I winded up fucking around because I'm single now and I have my own apartment. I have responsibilities. So when I go out on the weekends with the boys and don't have my daughter, I'm going to fuck around. I meet this girl, beautiful girl, out in Wallingford, and we start hooking up. She would hit me up sometimes and be like, "Oh, I'm coming over right now." I'd be like, "Oh, cool. This is nice." You know what I mean? Well, I get a call from my buddy. Me and her were going to establish a relationship, but she was too much of a party girl. I was like, I can't date you. you're too crazy. I work sometimes. I need somebody I could talk to through, like, during my shifts, whatever. She was like, whatever, I don't fucking care either. Like, I'm going to go back and getting drunk and having fun. Get a call from my buddy Toby, and he's like, yo, call that girl. And I'm like, who? He's like, that girl, man, call her. I was like, why, dude? Cause, dude, she really needs to talk to you. It's important. I'm like, how important could it be? Nah, dude, call her. And I'm like, oh, she's pregnant. And I'm like, okay, so, like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I've been through a lot as far as, like, fertility and stuff like that. Like, I genuinely think I want to keep the baby. Like, I just want to let you know. I don't know what your involvement's going to be moving forward, but, like, I think I'm ready for that part of my life. And I was like, well, my mom didn't raise no fucking deadbeat. That's what my dad was. So I was like, all right, like, I'll be involved. A few weeks later, I get back with the old chick that had the miscarriage. Because mind you, me and her, the chick that was now pregnant, me and her aren't really together. Like, we're kind of on and off because of the baby thing, but I wind up talking to the girl that I actually created kind of more of a life with. Had to tell her about the other girl being pregnant. Me falling into the stupid trap, I got her pregnant too. So now I have a full-time job and two pregnant girls.
So that would be 4 kids total because you already had 2?
Well, no, I had my daughter.
Okay.
Because I'm bringing you from the beginning. I had my daughter with the first chick from Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
I now have a girl from Bristol pregnant and now a girl from Wallingford
So this
pregnant.
would be 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is 3. So I'm going through that. And it's just madness. Like, it's just super chaotic at one point. You know, one day I'm arguing with this one and this one wants me back. One day, like, I don't mean to insult them at all. I love you guys. But at one point I remember things got so toxic that they came up with the idea of us having a relationship, all 3 of us. And it literally lasted like 10 hours. You know what I mean? But, like, they were pregnant women. You know what I mean? They were pregnant girls. They're not thinking, like, they're all emotion at that point. So, like, I fell back from the idea. And, you know, meanwhile, I'm going through the DUI stuff and, you know, caught a little bit in between charges here and there, domestic here, domestic there. You know, essentially I winded losing my job, having to find more jobs in between. You know, losing connection with my daughter because at this point it's been a time frame where I haven't been consistent with my daughter, and her mom was like, hey, shit, I get off the pot. With the 2 girls being pregnant, I feel like I completely bottomed out as a man, and I chose the easy and weak route of going out and partying over being a father. It's something that I'm still working on to this day. So the people out there that take stuff like that for granted, if you're in that position now, my advice to you is change right now, because it affects it so much that you can get everything together again and it's still going to be a reality. That's what I'm going through right now in my life, is that I've fixed everything, but you can't make up for that lost time with your children. Nothing in the world can make up for that lost time with your kids. And that's what I deal with on a day-to-day basis, and I try to reconnect and try every day to make better. So I spiraled out, man. I started living with a tattoo artist in a warehouse, and we had a bunch of fun, and I don't take nothing from them because it wasn't their responsibility what I had for my responsibilities. They more or less took me in because I was really cool, and I've always been charismatic. So, you know, at this point, both of my new BMs don't want nothing to do with me. My original BM wants nothing to do with me. So I'm a fucking bag in the wind. Not doing anything important aside from helping my boy that does tattoos fucking meet new clients and getting them in and out and partying. You know, at one point he was supplying all of our drugs, our alcohol, everything. At one point I was literally just there, letting it all happen and just being a part of it. One point or another, him and my other friends, they cut that cord too. They said, dude, you're a hangaround. Like, I hate to break it to you, but you are. And I was. And it sucked. And eventually it got to the point where, you know, my cousin Guns got out. My cousin Guns got out. I'm still couch hopping, and I go into this fastness of his life, but he taught me a lot even up to that point, he taught me a lot because he was starting to set building blocks into something bigger. Like, oh, I want to be in a shop. I'm going to get in a shop. I'm going to potentially own my own shop one day, and this is what I want to do. Me being big into skateboarding, I've always liked skateboard clothing, street brands, everything like that. Always wanted to do it full time. So I start hanging out with Tommy while everything's going on with the mess of my active case with the DUI, everything like that. But now I'm starting to hang around people that are more art oriented, where he's like, yo, shirts, hats, bonfire, third people users to sell stuff, to make money off of it. Hopping in and out of the skate scene. I still skateboard, hang out, making new friends. At one point, I'm pretty sure it was a domestic. I caught a domestic where I kicked down the door of one of my BM's house after one of my sons was born, because 2 sons came from those 2 girls that I got pregnant. I kicked down the door and got into an argument with her. I've never put my hands on a female, by the way. That's not my MO. But still, I kicked down a door. My kid could have been behind that door. I wind up they tried to get me with child endangerment, but I didn't get it. But I winded up getting breach of peace, threatening second degree, all that good stuff. So now they're like, okay, well, we want you to sit down for 18 months. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I've done 18 months before, yeah. No violent charges, whatever, I'll do it. So at this point, now that I'm bottomed out again, I go and live with my mom in New Britain. Mama's back. She's got a new shack for us to hang out. It's a fucking 2-bedroom in New Britain, dude. It's the size of nothing. It's horrible. You know what I mean? She got a new man. He's got a crack problem. She's still suffering heroin addiction. But she's still trying to be a mom. Like, that was the coolest thing to me, is like, yo, like, I wish I was more like my mom. Because mind you, during my stages of being all fucked up and stuff, I didn't want to be around my kids like that. I didn't want them to see me like that. And I'm glad I didn't, because God only knows I would have had my kid around a situation that I could have got in trouble. And next thing you know, I got that on my record, where I'm in endangerment to them, or DCF keeps me away from them. You know what I mean? Luckily, I stayed away. Some of my baby mothers are like, yo, you know what? When you were going through that stage of your life, I'm glad you stayed away, because like, you didn't alter your ability to be there now. You know what I mean? So I'm living in New Britain, banging broads left and right, just being a recluse, dude. Recluse during the day, out during the night, going crazy. So one night I'm in Bristol, I'm in my mom's Jeep, I'm selling blow, and I leave a bar and I start driving up this winded hill. And mind you, like, in 2 months I got to turn myself in, maybe even less than that. Pretty much just making money to have money until I go away. Bro, I'm driving up this hill in Bristol, and this fucking Jeep comes flying. It wasn't a Jeep. I was in a Jeep. A car comes flying down, dude, crashes into me head on. Bro, totals the front of the Jeep. I kick the door out because the adrenaline's pumping. And I'm like, dude, what the hell are you thinking? What's going through your head? He's like, my wife just left me. I got nothing else to live for. And it's taking me so much to not like assault this man, because I'm so mad. Like, I literally just reached around and cracked my first Budweiser for the night. And I was going to give a re-up to a kid that I knew that sold for me. So, bro, I'm like sitting there pretending to limp. And I'm pulling the beers out of the car. He's like, yeah, get rid of everything. I'm like, dude, get away from me. You know what I'm saying? And I took the blow and I stashed it by a bus stop. People are coming outside of their house. Oh, I'm on the phone with the cops now. I was like, all right, like, whatever. And they hand the phone to the guy. And he's like, yeah, this fucking kid just crashed into me. And, bro, when I tell you I was about to beat the brakes off this guy, there was people around. I was like, you know what? I'm out. I ran. It wasn't even my fault. I didn't even crash. This guy crashed head on into me, but because of my stuff I have going on with the police at that point and the courts and what I had on me, I fucking left. Wind up going back, getting my drugs. My mom's fucking livid at me. She's like, dude, that was our fucking car, dude. Like, that was our resource. Meanwhile, she boosted still. So I just took away her chance to get any or all money or drugs that she could have got. Whatever, I fucked up the bag. So I wind up getting with the Wallingford chick. Me and her wind up talking again. And she's always wanted me around at this point. And it was right before I went back in. And, you know, we had really sentimental, like, relationship dynamic where, like, I'd go with her and we'd light candles and paint. She liked art, I liked art, and I was around my son and it felt really good. And now Tommy had just been home for a while, guns, and, you know, he was bringing me places, you know, dosing me with acid, you know, just having a good time, and I was getting ready to sit down again. So in my fucked up head, I was like, all right, well, I got my family to look forward this time. I'm going to come out and try to be a full-time parent to my son on the side of her, and be a partner to her. Because, you know, at that point it was like, yo, like, I got to make something nice out of this. You know what I mean? I got to see some type of fruition of something fruitful and something great out of it. And I think it was just a little too late. I winded up going to Nyack Annex. No, not Nyack Annex. Cheshire Annex. It was right next to Big Cheshire, the prison in Cheshire. And I had 18 months. So I turned myself in. I go there. And at this point, I've been to jail a few times, so it's the norm. It is what it is. And again, I think it was just me withdrawing from all the drugs and bullshit and crap and ideas I've put into my body throughout the past few years from the last time I was in. Because now, mind you, I'm 22, 23. But yeah, so this is what leads me up to the escape. So I don't know if you have any other questions before
Keep it going,
that.
you're on a roll.
But so I get into this fucking, it's literally a building, man, that has 2 dorms in it. And I get in there, everything's cool. My BM lives right down the street. She's having my son come to see me. It's perfect. It's ideal, dude. I'm set up straight, you know? I set her up with some fucking good people on the outside where we were selling fucking Adderall to fucking some fucking Yale University professor. Like, I can't go into too many details, but she was good with money for a while I was away. It got pretty intense. I see the side eye you just did, but
oh no, I just checked to make sure it's recording.
It got crazy. So whatever, I'm in jail, and essentially the counselor told me, hey, listen, if you're going to be in this level 2 and you want your TS, you're going to work. And I was like, okay, like, what do you guys do? We do outside clearance. We do the highways. We do work around, you know, Parks and Rec. And, you know, we have the CO training camp right next to us. There was literally a building right next to us with the flagpole where they train COs in Connecticut. So I was like, cool. I winded up getting put in the role of being a landscaper at the CO training facility. So it was me, this kid named Shaggy, and this old dude named John. I think John was a crackhead. He was wild. He was OD crazy. So they would literally put us in this garage during the day, and like we had to go back to the garage for count. We had a little fridge, dude. It had orange splash in it and bologna sandwiches. I was like, yo, this is literally work, but it's jail. Like, whatever. So we would clean the inside of the training facility. We would go in there, fuck around. Like, it was actually a really fun and good time, dude. You know, I would run to that phone after every time I was back in the unit, you know, chit chat to her, jail talk her up. One day I come back from work and, you know, I think I like stole egg rolls from like the room at the fucking, like the break room at the training facility. I had duck sauce, so I used to sell it for like fucking like $5, dude, for duck sauce or soy sauce so they can cook with it. I get on the phone with her one day and, you know, I feel like it was the out of sight, out of mind type of thing, but I can tell she was like disconnecting from me. And me being anxious, I was like, no, where are you going? No, 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 no. Make sure you answer at this time, blah, blah, blah. I just got mad anxious, and like I could feel her pulling away, and I was trying to pull her close, and in that process made her pull away more. One day, she brought up something from the past, and I was like, yo, you have my phone. If you want, you can go through my phone. Well, me being old me, I had to have a backup plan if she stopped talking to me. So I hit up a bunch of girls that I used to screw around with, and I gave them my information in case they ever wanted to reach out. Or I had a list of all their numbers. That's what it was. Well, she found the list in my notes on my iPhone. One day I call, no answer. One day I call, no answer. One day I call, no answer. Then finally one day I called, and I'm like, why the fuck do you didn't answer? Yelling at her, screaming at her. She stopped picking up. This was around, I want to say September, maybe the end of September, beginning of October of 2018. I was 3 months in already, and I was like, what the fuck? Got super sad about it. And I don't know, man. It was just back to where I was when I was little and I went to jail for the first time. I just didn't know how to control my emotions off of it. And like now I'm around a whole bunch of older people. I can't cry, or I can't be caught crying at least. So I'm stressing, just impulsive anxiousness. I'm reaching on people on the outside, trying to figure out what's going on. But mind you, I've been calling her for the past 3 months. Nobody else. Nobody's answering me, or I put them on the list. So it gets to a point where I start getting heavy into doing art. I would play crazy hearts with people, our games would last a day sometimes because I play with players that actually played for long periods of time. And I did art. So money was not coming in anymore, and I had to do hankies and stuff, and I was really good at drawing. And at one point, this guy came up to me. He was like, yo, I need this. I need an 8-ball I need an 8-ball on a hanky with 81 on it. And I was like, oh, all right, like whatever. I'm spiraling over a girl right now and just need to make sure I have a chili soup in my fucking tummy at night, so whatever, dude. We got shook down, and Intel came in and they pulled me aside. And they're like, hey, what's up, bro? They're like, yo, you're part of a gang? And I'm just like, dude, I can show you all my tattoos. I'm not fucking part of a gang, bro. Because mind you, I'm trying to get out soon. They put me in SRG. I ain't getting out. So I was like, nah, bro, I'm fucking not a part of any gangs. I'll show you all. I have mostly Wu-Tang tattoos and early 90 rap tattoos, bro. Like, I don't have crazy shit like that. Well, we found this in there. Yeah, it's a fucking hanky I'm doing for somebody. Who are you doing it for? Well, if it's bad, I ain't telling you who I'm doing it for because that's snitching. I'm not fucking doing that. Oh, 81's fucking Hell's Angels. And I'm like, oh. I didn't know that. So now I have the stress of Intel being on my ass, who pretty much essentially told me, yeah, well, you'll be hearing from us. You know what I'm saying? They let me rock, but essentially I thought in my head, oh yeah, like I'm pending fucking investigation for a potential security risk group. I'm like, fuck. So at one point, I want to say it was around like 10 days before I actually left, I started thinking about it. I was like looking at tiles in the ceiling. I was like, yo, I think I can get out of here. You know what I'm saying? I started looking at shit, and I started looking at COs come and go. They were short-staffed a lot. I was like, yo, if they give me a chance outside and they're short-staffed, I could fucking get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Didn't tell anybody about it. Didn't say anything to anybody about it, And at one point, I just remember waking up one morning and I was like, dude, I think I want to do it. Because, at that point, she wrote me off. I didn't have anybody that gave a fuck about me, really, besides my mom. I was like, yo, I'm just about to leave and, never come back. My thing was literally my thoughts as a kid, just yo, I'm just going to run away from everything. If people don't appreciate me, fuck them. Which was really stupid because the only reason why people didn't care about me is based off my decisions I made up until that point. But I couldn't think like that. I set a barrier in my head where it was everybody else and not me. October 31st comes, 2018. Wake up, eat breakfast, do my workout routine, hit off some burpees in my sweats, just doing my routine. They didn't think at all that I would take the chance on this day. We're short-staffed. But they want to bring us outside because it's Halloween. A lot of people have kids and can't see their kids on Halloween. We'll let them do some fucking, we'll let them shoot some hoops. So the way the rec yard's set up is that it literally goes around the entire, there's no fence separating the entrance. So essentially, it's a small little area, and the COs keep us away from a certain point just by saying, hey, fuck off, get away from this area. Well, there's 2 COs. There should have been 3 or 4, I believe, in order to even initiate rec. So people lost their jobs. And what happened is they did recall at one point or another. And when they did recall, I hid on the side of the building. Inmates seen me. And the CO that was supposed to be making sure, he was supposed to be behind the inmates, making sure everybody comes in, wasn't. So there was no CO that saw me. They locked the doors. So I'm outside, and I'm like, well, this is already I'm not going to get an attempt escape charge. Fuck that, because that's corny. You know what I mean? I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it all the way, and that's it. Not thinking about any of the consequences that come with it, right? Bro, I try scaling the fence, and mind you, I have on rec sweatpants, and I think I might have had my tans outside for doing pull-ups. So I put those on, and I was like, if I rip through one, I'm going to have the other. Run up with my fucking Reebok highs, dude, to this fence, start trying to scale it. It's got the pieces of plastic that go in between the fence. Bro, I'm sliding down this thing. There's just dude, it's literally probably 8 or 9 feet with razor wire. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck? So there was a picnic table. We used to press it out in the yard. Bro, I flipped it. I don't know where the strength came from because I could barely even lift that, pressing it a few times with somebody spotting me. Bro, I flipped this picnic table up against the fence sideways like this and climbed up the picnic table, got to the top of the fence and wiggled my way through the razor wire. I still have scars on me from it. Made it over. I hear inmates on the glass from the unit just wigging the fuck out, going crazy. Make it over. Walk through the back part of Cheshire all the way through. And now, mind you, they have, so it's MYI, Nyack Annex, and Big Cheshire. They're literally all next to each other. So it's the same place where I was when I was younger. And there's a vehicle, a truck that goes by and surrounds the jail and does rounds. No different than count. Fucking found my way out. Made it through the field, made it out. I'm taking back roads. At one point on one of my side jobs, I was a garbage man. I was a garbage man for maybe 2 weeks a few years before. So I was like, I know where I'm at. This used to be where I used to do my routes. So I'm on this cul-de-sac in this rich neighborhood. I'm walking up the road. I got blood. I'm dripping blood. And there's blood on my tans, everything. So I take off my tans, and now I'm wearing a sweatshirt and sweatpants, but I still look like an inmate, hands down. Still bleeding. It's starting to get dark out. What do I see? I see a fucking princess in fucking Yoshi costume walking towards me with her parents. And I'm just like, all right, now I need to develop a story when one of these motherfuckers decide to ask me who I am and what I'm doing.
You're dressed up for prison.
That's
your costume.
Yeah, I just came back from a Halloween party. You know what I mean? So finally, I walk all the way to the center street in Cheshire. I forgot what the road's called, but there's this big strip. Bazzuto's is right off of it, the job I used to work at. I know where I'm at. There's a plaza. It's got an Old Navy. It's got, I believe, a Stop and Shop or a Big Y. And it's got a pizza place. I hop in that plaza. First person I see, I need a cigarette. Thank you, man. I appreciate it so much. And I started to go up to, I think I went up to 2 people and I was like, hey, I just got stranded out here. I need a ride. Could you give me a ride? Nope. I'm like, I already know I'm not going to get a ride if I rely on randoms because I look fucking crazy. I have face tattoos. I look no different than I look now, but I'm bleeding in sweats. So at one point I see a pizza place and I'm like, a delivery guy. Guy runs in. Dude, it literally happened like clockwork. I sat there and was chilling on the side of this fucking Old Navy and pizza place building. Guy pulls up, hops out of the car, car's running. I hopped in the car. First one I seen. Hopped in, took off with it. I went maybe a block and I considered to myself what I have done. And it's all started to hit me. You know what I mean? I started to realize what position I had just put myself in realistically. And I was like, if they catch me in this car, they're going to shoot me. If I take them and I become a danger, I'm their property. You know what I mean? When you're an inmate, you're a property of the state. If I'm out there putting people's life in danger just by speeding in a car, they have every right to shoot that car. So I took maybe 2 blocks, went, parked the car, took the guy's phone, left the keys. The car was unscathed, perfect condition. I didn't do nothing to it. I took it 2 blocks. Took the phone. At one point, I look at the phone, and there was like a storm warning, but it wasn't a storm warning. It was me. Warning, inmate just escaped, local correctional facility. Try to stay indoors if you could. They got a weather alert for me escaping, and I was like, fuck. You know what I mean? So I was like, what do I do at this point? So I was like, I just got to keep going. So I turned off his phone, went to his settings, turned off location. I was a little tech savvy, but I didn't realize the powers of the fugitive task force. You know what I mean? So later on, I find out they were pinging me all throughout my little walk, but that they kept losing it. I'd be one place 1 minute, and then after a little bit, I think it was because I was turning it off, but who knows? So I'm walking down this big, long stretch of a street that leads going to Wallingford. But I didn't want to go to Wallingford because I knew that they would go right to her house. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I called Guns up through the guy's phone at one point. He's like, you're out, bud? Where are you at? And I was like, you need to come get me. What do you mean you need to come get? What are you talking about? I escaped. Bro, get out of Connecticut right now. But, bro, I need your help. No. I'm on parole, which he was. I'm on parole. I can't be nowhere around that. You did this. Figure it out. You'll be all right. You're probably going to wind up doing 5 years. Just letting you know right now, you're looking at 5 years if they catch you tonight. So now I'm panicking. I'm like, oh, what the fuck did I just do? Now the reality sets in. I winded up calling the girl. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And she's like, who is this? I was like, it's Lewis. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, bro. I was like, why were you picking up, bro? She's like, you got out today? And I'm like, no, I just fucking left. She's freaking out. Whatever. We hang up with each other. I called a bunch of my buddies. Nobody wants to help me because I'm the hottest thing moving. All my drug dealer friends and shit that I thought were my day ones, they wouldn't come near me. They're like, dude, you're the last person I want around my vehicle. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's Halloween night. Like, I have shit to do. I have money to make. I can't have you around. Like, I'm sorry. Hide in a fucking doghouse if you could. So at that point, I'm even more mad. I'm like, fuck my friends. I don't have any friends. So I'm walking down the street. I'm ducking and dodging in the backyards. I see a Stady drive by. I'm like, this is it. I'm done. I run into the woods. I hear a door open. I hear a dog get out with an officer. I'm done. I'm cooked. Meanwhile, it's gradually getting darker. So at this point in the woods, you can't really see nothing. I'm like, oh, I read in a fucking book if I probably cover my scent in water from a dog. Dude, I literally submerged myself backwards in this stream in Cheshire, in the middle of the woods, away from this road. Cop left. Never found me, nothing, couldn't find me. So now I'm bloody, ripped up, fucking covered in mud, and fucking just, I'm a mess, dude. You know what I'm saying? To the average eye, dude, I'm like the biggest thing standing out, you know? I'm walking down this street. Empty, long road, straight shot. There's no woods I could really jump into without hurting myself. A car drives up, and meanwhile, I'm trying to keep my head straight. I'm not trying to look back, bring any attention to myself. Car pulls up behind me. I'm like, this is it. This got to be a cop, right? Hey, dude, what are you doing? I look over at some guy. I see Twisted Tea's all in his passenger seat. He's hammered. What are you doing, dude? And I'm like, yo, dude, I just got into a fight. Some girl brought me to a party, and I got into a bang out. I'm bleeding, like whatever. I winded up getting stranded, so I left. Like I'm trying to like get out. My phone's fucked up. Whatever. He's like, where are you headed? I'm like, Bristol. He's like, I can't bring you to Bristol. I live in Meriden, and that's where I'm going for the night. If you want, you can come with me. I could bring you to Meriden. We could like try to get you a ride or something. I'm like, word, bet. Hop in his car. He's like, dude, you're fucking dressed like an inmate. He's like, I was like, yeah, not bad, right? He's like, dude, you got it down to the shoes. I've owned a pair of those before when I was locked up in Hartford a couple years back. And I'm just painting this thing. Like at this point, I'm just painting a narrative for him so that, you know, I'm looking at the rear view. I'm looking at the cars coming this way. My brain's everywhere. But in my head, I was like, I'm good. Because, like, there's no way that they're going to be able to look back and say, oh, he got into a car with this guy. I was in the middle of the fucking woods, essentially, on a road, like a back road. I'm good. This is a perfect situation. So we go to Meriden. He's like, you want to come in the packy with me? And at this point, I'm trying to play it cool. So I was like, yeah, we go into a package store. I'll never forget it. I'm like just chilling like this. While he buys his beer, he's like, you want anything? I'm like, nah, I'm straight, bro. Like, I'm good. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. I'm literally looking at myself. You know how they in package stores, they have the video camera showing you essentially. Whatever. Crazy, right? These people don't know who I am or what's going on. Hysterical. Wind up leaving the packy. We go third floor up to his apartment. There's a bar next to his apartment that's connected by the building. I go upstairs, and at one point, he's just going off about his girl. And I could relate because I'm going through that shit with my old lady. So, like, I'm telling him what people were telling me when I was going through it in jail. So he's like, yeah, she's not talking to me right now, but I love her. That's a picture of her, blah, blah, blah. And, like, meanwhile, I'm just, like, a random person. So I'm like, yeah, dude, like, you'll figure it out, bro. Like, if it's meant to be, it'll be meant to be, blah, blah, blah. You want a beer? Yeah, sure. One beer. Want another beer? Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm like, can I use your sink? Can I clean up? Yeah, bro. Yeah, you're bleeding everywhere. Yeah, clean up. Cleaning myself off. At one point, he's like, yo, I got some clothes you could wear. You look like you're covered in mud and shit. I got some clothes. Gave me a shirt, gave me jeans, everything. Like, set me up perfect. The door busts open. Dude. And his buddy's like, yo, what up, dog? He's like, it was his neighbor. His neighbor was a close friend of his. He comes in, he's undoing a bag of blow. And he starts dumping on the table. Like, you would think he lives there the way he just stormed in and sat down. He starts fucking putting it down. He's like, yo, who's this? Why is he dressed like a fucking inmate? And I'm just like, yeah, dude, I'm changing right now. I told him, he's like, oh, whatever. Do you do blow? And I was like, I do, but not anymore. I'm actually clean for like the past few months because I'm in jail, you know? At one point, I get on Snapchat on the guy's phone I stole from the car. I turn it on. Worst mistake ever. So I think. I go on Snapchat and I'm hitting up my buddy. Give him the lowdown on what's going on. He's like, yo, I got some of your clothes. We're going to pick you up here. I'm going to Uber you. All right, cool. My phone's not going to be on, so make sure that Uber gets here. Bottom line. Hang up. Yeah, it was a Snapchat call. Hung up with him, turned the phone off. So I'm waiting, and now I'm just pacing because I'm like, I need to get out of here because I'm one town over from Cheshire, bro. You know what I mean? And if this phone is the reason why I get caught, yeah. So I literally threw the phone out in this guy's garbage without him even noticing. Because at that point, I don't need it anymore. I go to my boy, I'm scot-free. I don't need a phone. I go out down the front of the building. I'm like, yo, thanks for everything, man. I really appreciate it. I'm going to come holler at you soon. Yada, yada. My mom lives down the road, so this is good. All right, cool, man. Got you. Go down the front. Nothing. Nobody's there. It's just a busy Meriden intersection. I'm like, fuck, dude. Walk back up the stairs, go back down to the back, because it's like a setup like this where the back door is right here of the apartment and the front door is right here. That's how it would look if you were looking at it in a hole. I go down the back stairs, go out, and this dude's on the third floor. He's like, yo, I think that's your Uber right there. It was a black car. It was a black Nissan Rogue. And I was like, oh, word. Get in. It's an Asian guy. He's like, hey, going to Bleachers? Yep. Literally, dude, as soon as this guy goes to pull out, dude, an all black, dude, it looked like a Hellcat. Pulls up, hits the lights. I got two agents coming up to me. Get down on the fucking ground, blah, 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 freaking out. And I'm just like, oh, here we go. This is it. So mind you, the dude wouldn't let me throw away my jail clothes there. He made me bring them into a bag. So I've always wondered if maybe he knew and like, you know what I'm saying, might have informed them or whatever. But I think he got the sense that like something wasn't right.
Or got a reward or something?
I don't know. He didn't want the jail clothes in his house. Like when I took off the bloody jail clothes, he wanted them in a bag. Like he was like, take that with you.
I mean, normally you would take clothes with you that when you're changing.
Well, I told him that I whooped some kid's ass too, so maybe he didn't want the evidence. I don't know. Anyways.
So they swarm your car.
They swarmed the Nissan Rogue of the Uber I was getting into.
Was it an actual Uber or was he an undercover?
No, it was an Uber. It had the light in it and everything. That's when they first started having the little lights to let people know that, hey, I'm an Uber.
So you almost made it out of there, safe.
Almost made it out of there. They triangulated me from the phone. So I get slammed on my fucking stomach. I'm crying. I'm upset because I'm literally just made my life so much worse than what it needed to be. And I just kind of was shook from it. Like, why would I even think something like this is all right? That moment stemmed in a lot to me looking into my mental health after that point. Because you look at it from the outside perspective and you're like, dude, you had 18 months. You had a 9-month bid. What were you thinking?
Yeah, what was your thought process? Like, where would you have gone? What do you want to do?
I didn't have a plan, dude.
It was just a rash decision.
I knew somebody I can go to get to PR. So that was going to be what I was going to potentially wind up doing.
Don't they extradite in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, but if you get lost out there, they can't find you. It depends. It depends on the circumstance and who you know. You know what I mean? A lot of cops over there, they play different. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I wind up getting slammed on my stomach. The cop's really cool. He's like, dude, I know. I remember him telling me, he's like, I know you're upset. He's like, you want a cigarette? He let me smoke a cigarette, which was completely not all right because I'm technically state property still. And I just remember there was a bar next to behind the place. So there's people outside smoking cigarettes on the patio, and a lady's like, oh my God, that's the kid that escaped. Don't hurt him. Police brutality. And I'm just like, nah, they're cool. They're letting me smoke a cigarette. Well, I get loaded up into their little fucking, I didn't even know they had a vehicle like that. It's a blacked out, it looked like a Hellcat, dude. I get in the car and I'm like, so who are you guys? They're like, we're the fugitive guys. We're the fugitive task force. Like, you know what I'm saying? Talk to them for a minute. They're like, dude, you're a real fucking cool kid, man. What the fuck are you thinking? They brought me to Troop B or Troop C so I can get processed. And they're like, well, the fugitive lead investigators want to talk to you. They just want to talk to you, like, you know, explain to you your charges, explain to you what's going to be going down. So I got hit with escape one. Larceny, I believe, one of the worst larceny charges I got. And, yeah, like, pretty much nothing else. Just the car and the escape were the biggest ones. And they sat me down. They're like, why'd you run? Like, do you have warrants somewhere else? Are you evading something bigger? What's going on with you? And I said, no, I was just stressed out. My girl left me. I was real upset about it. And that's what I wrote off of. And I took anything question they had, I answered like right away. And they were just like, oh, well, damn, dude, that fucking sucks because you're in this position, but you don't sound like a bad person. So they're like, all right, well, thanks for cooperating with us. We don't know what happens after here, but like, you know, we're going to take this into account in court that you were so, because originally too, they were like, where's the car? Where's the car? And I was like, I put it there. And they were like, why did you take the car if you didn't just wind up crashing out with it? And I was like, well, because I thought you guys would hurt me. And they were like, you're real smart because we could have if you took us. That's our job, you know, to stop a fugitive getting away. You could have definitely either hurt yourself or hurt others. So that is super smart out of the list of stupid things that you like decided to do. So whatever, they were really cool. They were really nice to me. It was a pleasure meeting them. I don't remember their names because, you know, 2018 was a while ago. But So then I get down to processing, and processing is always fun. You know the experience of that. Get hit with the charges, and then I'm like, okay, so like, am I going to court? No, no, these are outside offenses. So you won't be going in for these charges until maybe a month or two from now at a court. Well, am I going back to Big Cheshire? Because like they always told me if I caught a ticket in the annex that I'd be going to Big Cheshire. Nah, you're going to Northern. You're going to Northern CI. And I was like, oh, fuck, I've heard about that place. Northern's like the worst place you want to be. It's maximum level. That's where they keep death penalty. That's where they keep death row. Like, that's where those people go. So I was like, fuck, get there, hour and a half, dude, ride there. And mind you, it's like October, so it's just starting to get cold out. I didn't realize how detrimental that would be later on while I was in the administrative seg program.
Why, they don't have heat there?
Even if they did, it wouldn't matter. The walls of the outside of the prison, it sucks in the coldness. Got there, got processed, cried about it a bunch, tried to kill myself. I was stuck with myself. I went crazy like 3 times in Northern alone, just trying to cope with what damage I just did in my life. And essentially, I'm like, I'm doing 5 years. Like, that's what I'm going to get. That's the minimum. The last guy that escaped, this dude named Jerry, he went under a lunch truck. They gave him 7, but they caught him out in Atlanta trying to call home for money from his mom. And the cell, man, and, I had this dude named Rizzo. He used to bring me books all the time and stuff, and I didn't know him. I didn't ask questions. I literally just shut out, became super depressed, and, they were like, you get to call home once a week in phase 1. Phase 1's 3 months. Phase 2's 3 months. No, phase 1 was 4 months. Phase 2 was 3 months. And then phase 3 was 3 months. But you go up the levels in the phases, so you get a scheduled 1 call a week for the first 4 months, phase 1. Once you progress to the second, it's 2 calls a week, and then the phase 3 is 3 calls a week, and then moving forward to going back in general pop. So I started out in Northern, and I didn't realize it, but like the me escaping story it's nothing compared to the AS program and that story and stuff. And I won't give you the long version unless you want it. But essentially, it was me trying to figure out who the fuck I am. All those times I went into those other prisons and I tried to figure out who I am but didn't have the space to, I realized I didn't have enough time to. I needed the time and the segregation in order to figure out who I am and what I want to do next. Talking to myself, getting fed through a door, that type of shit is what kind of like broke me spiritually and mentally, because like, wow, like I'm here now, like before I remember, I used to be a dietary aide for fucking people, like old people in the dementia unit, like, hey, Lewis, and now I'm in like the worst place you could be in prison. Come to find out, the guy giving me books killed somebody in 93 with a hammers on death row. He did it in the 90s.
And this is a 24-hour lockdown facility? Like,
Oh,
in
yeah.
your cell?
Yeah, so my unit, the unit I was in, I think it was, what was it? 1 West, I think it was, in Northern. I was all the way back in the corner of the actual facility, and our tier was AS phase 1, and then the tier above us was death row. So our day room that we never went in, I pretty much watched death row wreck and eat their meals every day.
Would you interact with them, or you're just
Only the
cell?
tiermen, they had death row tiermen that would come out and be able to like talk and stuff like that. But I found out one of them was a ripper, so I didn't really deal with him after a while. At one point,
What's a ripper?
A ripper is somebody who has raped somebody as an offense, a predator, pretty much. No different than, I mean, we call them diddlers. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, pedo, pretty much. But he did it big time. You know what I mean? Like I got told through a vent that he raped and murdered a woman. And to me, I'm sorry, that's like the lowest you can go at that point. Just keep it pushing. Don't come by my door. unless you're trying to come in it, and then that's something else. You know what I mean? So at one point or another, it was all books. I fucking jumped into the world of books, man. Anything I can get my hands on, I read it front and back. Got flex pens and 5 pieces of paper, and I started doing reviews of books. I created my own little, I had stars next to the book titles, what I liked about them, 1 out of 10 for like the sex in it, 1 out of 10 for like the action in it. If it sucked, it probably didn't make the list.
That's funny. I've never heard this
bro,
before.
I read I want to say in that 4 months, I think I read close to 130 books.
Sounds about right.
But that's all I had. It was to escape the reality, because I would put down a book and be like, oh, I'm here again. The one positive side about Northern was their portions were huge. And it's almost like they knew that we needed it for the cold months. Because when I tell you that I literally lived under my blanket for the months of January and February, that's literally what it was. Doubling up on tans and T-shirts was nothing. It was so cold in that cell, I lost weight from it. Like, being somewhere so cold to the point where you have to eat your entire meal every single time and hope that there's more that you can eat so that way you don't look thin in the face, bro, was that bad.
What did they end up prosecuting you, or?
Yes, this comes later on down the line. I didn't get sentenced until I was out of AS.
So they keep you in this for 4 months, this AS facility?
Yeah. So I was supposed to do all the phases in Northern, but during my time there, because of some shift that they had, they wanted to move SRG, which is the gang unit and stuff. They always moved around the phases and where they would go, almost like they do the 6 months with the correctional officers. And pretty much what winded up happening is, once I graduated from the first phase, and mind you, I had called home and my girl was my girl again, everything like that. Crazy.
How'd she react to you escaping?
Oh, she was a mess. She was so sad because I just fucked up more of my relationship with my son and her, being stupid. Her and my mom saved up, bought me an attorney for the case, though, and it winded up paying off later on down the line. So I'm going to court back and forth. My lawyer's like, dude, like, I don't know what you want me to do for you here. You left. Like, it's open and shut. Like, you left prison. You're going to pay for that. Like, there's no walking away from that. Whatever. So whatever, I'm dealing with the stress of that, and I'm literally just dealing with the whole mental thing of being around myself for long periods of time and having little to no interaction with anybody. And one day they're like, all right, pack your stuff up. And I'm like, where am I going? They're like, going to phase 2. And I'm like, I thought phase 2 was here. That's what the captain said. No, they moved it to Walker. And I don't know if you know anything about Walker in Connecticut. It's where people go to get processed, and it's pretty much where people go to get, I'm trying to think of the word. They pretty much sort you out from there. So if you get anything over 2 years or 2 in a day, you go there and assessment. It's an assessment prison. So I was going to an assessment prison for the next 3 months. Great. Awesome. Well, now I start to see interaction with some of the other people in the AS program, which was a fucking suicide squad of fucking people, dude. Bro, I love all those dudes. Some of those dudes were fucking whacked out, and I disrespected some of them fucking crazy, but still to this day, I actually just recently was in contact with one of the kids, but yo, balls to the wall crazy kids. One of them, his name was Riot. Riot was from Watertown or Torrington. He did a home invasion. He got 15 years, but he loved beating up cops. He could not keep his hands off COs. He loved them. He loved whooping their ass. He loved the prison violence was his thing. Anyways, he was black, and like I always got along with the hood dudes and the white dudes, so I was always the best of both worlds when it came to that. But he was the whitest black kid I knew. Like, he used to, like, one day he showed me his CDs, and he's like, yo, I got Panic at the Disco. And I'm like, dude, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. I love that album, bro. He's like, yo, me too, bro. I sing to it all the time. But he was also real hood. Like he'll stab you in the face with a toothbrush, dude. You know what I mean? Anyways, a shout out to him. He recently just went back in off a smaller charge, but it's hard when you get into that rhythm and been in there for so long. Then there was Jerry. Jerry was the guy that escaped before me. Jerry kept regressing. I met Jerry while walking to my cell because, mind you, they put me on the high security wall. I couldn't face outward of a prison anymore. I had to be facing a courtyard, my window. So I had Janito, who also escaped. He escaped from a court trip. I had Jerry, who went underneath the lunch truck. I walked past Jerry's cell the first time, and he was He was using his socks as nunchucks with his soap. I found out very quick Jerry was out of his fucking mind, and that he kept smoking the K2 after they stopped saying smoke it. You know what I mean? Went into phase 2. Now I'm going out for rec, but we have to be cuffed in the cage together. Everything's cool. Met this one dude named Crispin. He was a weirdo, dude. Weird kid. Weird fucking kid. Played with his poop and shit. We didn't let him hang out with us. Like, I remember I was chilling by the door because essentially if we weren't sleeping, working out, eating, drawing, we were by the door just catching wreck, talking to each other, roasting each other, talking about certain things. And I'll never forget it, dude. The CO comes over, and there's a lunch tray on the table, and the CO was like, yo, is this yours, Crispin? And he was just like, no, open it up. And the CO opened it up. He's like, what is this? And he's like, it's doo-doo balls. And he literally rolled up turds in a tray and, like, left it for the CO. And I was like, yo, what a weird fucking guy, dude. Like, we roasted him for months after that. Like, yo, you're weird. Like, don't even come to the door and talk. We'd be having our nightly talk on the weekends or during the day or whatever. And Crispin would chime in and would be like, yo, get the fuck away from the door, dude. Go back to your fucking bed. And essentially, that's what it became, is like, it was just a bunch of dudes. You know, we're making kites, milk crates with pieces of sheet attached to it, sliding it under doors, communicating with each other of shit that we couldn't talk about on the tier, and just crashing out on each other. We only went out for rec once during the weekend when we were all in the cage like that. So then slipping cuffs became a thing. Some people were leaving the program. Some people weren't. Some people were staying in phase 2. So we had dudes slipping their cuffs off, starting fights in the rec yard, beating the shit out of each other. Then prison lawsuits came up. I got big into the realm of that and hearing about how much money you can make off these assholes for just complete negligence. Almost got into a fight with a CO or two just because, I'm in a box all day, bro. So, like, any slight disrespect would lose it. Get on the phone finally in this new program. The girl found a new guy. It's crazier than that, but she found a new guy and she no longer wants to be involved with me. Went through the whole psychological stage of dealing with that again and, took it out on those guys in that unit. But a lot of them were there for me through that. And they were like, yo, you got this. You're good. You're going to go home soon. A lot of us have more time than you. Don't stress it out.
But you didn't try to escape this time.
There's no way I could escape. You're not getting out of Walker, dude. The only way you're getting out of Walker is in a body bag or a fucking, I don't know, if you put yourself in a CO's skin. You know what I mean, dude? So, got through that. Everything was straight. And one day, we kind of had like a bond, all of us. So all of us were like, Riot was constantly trying to regress back to phase 1. Because once you fuck up and catch another ticket, you're going right back to Northern. So at one point, it was me, Janito, Riot, this dude, Shah. We were all chilling. We were like the crew. And we were like, bro, let's just keep ourselves out of trouble so we can get back to general population. So one day they popped our cells. Hey, you guys are going to phase 3. Riot almost freaked out. He's like, what do you mean we're going to phase 3? Phase 3 is going to be here. Nah, we're going to Walker. Not Walker, Garner. And Garner's the mental health prison. So Riot's like, I'm not fucking going there. And pretty much the COs and the captain had to convince us to get out of the cells. They were about to do a 4-way extraction between all of us because we were saying no. And they're like, listen, we're either going to go to Gardner, have more have more things to do because you're progressing in your guys' level in AS, or you're going back to Northern and essentially have nothing. Okay, you got it. Went there, and they stuck us in the mental health prisons box on the bottom tier. I go in there, and it's it's the box. There's no shelves. There's literally a bed. And I'm like, where are we putting our property? Because now, mind you, we're getting more property now that we're progressing through the levels. My first question, everybody's like, yo, where's this property? Where's this? Why can't I have this? It says via this fucking handbook, inmate handbook. And all the while, I'm like, bro, they're going to flood us. I was like, they're mental health patients up there, and this is where they go when they're bad. They're going to fucking flood us. First day, I'm there, wake up in the morning, I hear a waterfall. They're flooding us. It became a normal thing for them to flood us, and there was no way we can get to them to beat them up. Riot wanted to whoop their ass. Like, you catch Riot out the cell, he was pulling one of them out of the shower. That's how bad it was. Well, everything was good. They gave us styrofoam cups to put our property bags on, our property boxes on. Out of control. Whatever, it worked. So everything's cool. I got a radio now. I'm chilling. I don't call home anymore because I have nobody to call. Don't really want to talk to anybody out there. Mail is completely light at this point. Around this time, I think I hit the 18-month mark of when I was supposed to get out originally. So that was like at this point, I'm starting to learn more politics of the COs in Connecticut, which ones are okay people and which ones are just complete maggots. At one point, there was a CO. I won't say his name because I don't know. He's a negative person, and I don't want that motherfucker ever. God forbid I ever go back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I heard what you said about me on that podcast. Well, Riot had a history with him, and Riot was like, "Oh yeah, the first opportunity I get, I'm meeting that dude up." And I was just like, "Hey man, you shouldn't, but you got another 6 years, so who am I to tell you anything?" You know what I'm saying? I'm just a passerby. So at one point, we come out. At this point, we can come out for chow now. So we can come out for meals and our rec once a weekend. We come out. That CO starts talking shit to Riot. Riot goes to the bubble. Now it's not a regular bubble. It's almost like a desk, like a triangular desk with like computers and the openers and stuff. But there's nothing protecting the COs. Riot goes over and sits on the top of the desk, and another CO that CO's training comes up to him, and Riot says, "You come any closer, I'm going to punch him right in his face." And he's pointing to the other CO. You should have seen the look on the CO's face. He's like, "Oh my God." And I'm sitting there eating, and I'm like, bro, this is going to be so bad. So at one point or another, I'm not going to lie, man, I kind of did the bitch thing, and I was like, you know what, dude, they were telling all of us to lock up, and at one point I was like, guys, like, I'm really not trying to make this shit any worse. Like, from where I went to now, like, I'm really not, like, I just want to go home. You know what I mean? And they were all cool. All my boys, Riot, and all of them were like, Lou, go lock up. Like, we're not judging you. You don't hold no fucking, you know. I'm pretty sure they were part of a gang at one point, one or two of them, whatever. They didn't hold me to it, and I thought that was super dope because prison has that mentality of, oh, this person did this when this happened. They're a bitch. You know what I mean? They didn't do that. I winded up locking up. They extracted all my boys to phase 1. So I had to watch all my boys pretty much get beat up by the cops and brought back to phase 1. It was all love. I stayed in phase 3 by myself. Besides this other dude, Cambridge, really cool graphic novel guy. Me and him always swap stories and shit. He's no longer here. Rest in peace, Cambridge. Twist. And then one day they popped my cell and they said, "You're free. You're going. You're leaving."
Even with the charges pending?
Well, I was free to go back to general population.
Oh, okay. Right,
I got you there.
Yeah,
I wanted to trick
tricked
you.
me.
You're going to McDougal. And I was like, oh, that's cool. At this point, I'm like, I'm going to be around people again. Ooh. You know what I mean?
You're
like,
still just pending at this point? Like, there's
yeah.
no...
Well, so my lawyers, he said, we're going to play the long game. in the sentencing. I'm just going to keep pushing it out away from the scenario that happened because it was big news when it happened. And when it's big news, the last thing you want to do is start talking about deals and plea bargains. You know what I mean? So by getting him, he pretty much was like, we're going to push this as far away back from the event as possible. So that way it's almost like, oh, that thing? I go to McDougal. I run into a lot of people I met off the streets in some of the worst places. So I'm back into the groove of things. I'm back into the swing. But this time, now I got stripes. I just left a bad situation. No different than the gang unit, no different than anything that. They put me in the ticket block. Huge tier. People with huge time on it. I wind up in this kid, Eric's cell from Bridgeport. He paralyzed a kid during a drug deal gone bad. He's sniffing Wellbutrin, and he's into electronics. So he's breaking down 10 people's CD players for cash and fucking sending them back. He's putting remotes on the see-through TVs and stuff. Like, he was super cool. Yo, what up, man? What's good? He's like, what do you do? I'm like, I've been getting into art lately. I'm huge into art. Oh, yeah? Bro, I got a fucking gun in here right now. I could put it together in 5 minutes. First night I'm tattooing them. We're sniffing Wellbutrin. Like, dude, it was just... it was right back to where I was running. I was ripping and running again. Just this time I was in a jail cell. At one point or another, they changed my cell up or whatnot because he got into it with some dude, and that's how I learned that there was a rat on the tier. They threw him pretty much for the wolves. He owed somebody, and he pretty much told the dude, you're a ripper, you're not getting paid, fuck off. Sent him packing. The next day, he's out of my cell. He dapped me up. We exchanged info. So now I'm in a cell by myself again, and I come to learn that, like, damn, you got to enjoy the cellies that you do have that are cool because now you're subject to having anybody in your cell. And where I was, you're not allowed to do that. If a punk comes in your cell, which a punk being somebody that's either gay or there for a weird charge, you have to get them out of your cell, even if that means you going back to the box. If I go to the box, I'm going back to phase one. Yeah, that system that they had, I'm still high security. My badge is still green, just like the jumpsuit I just got out of. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm in tans, but I'm high security. Wind up in a cell with this guy, this Spanish guy. I don't remember his name. Walked in his cell. He's like, oh, you do tattoos, Poppy? Yeah. I'm like, hell yeah, bro. I'll hook you up, bro. Like, I just learned how to do all this shit, so you got to give me a minute. Take me longer to put the gun together. But yeah, I got you. Oh, word, yo. I eat every night. Everything's going to be good. I'm like, we're eating every night? Cool. That means I have to do less art because that way I could fucking just add what I could to the meal, and he's cool with it. Cool. Oh, yeah, what are you here for? I told him I escaped. He's like, escape, ha, 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 ja, 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 like just laughing at me. You know what I mean? Whatever. I figured it. I got a lot of it afterwards because people in certain conditions are like, dude, I would have fucking did 10 of those bids that you escaped from. Whatever. I always got a kick in the ass for it. It's funny at this point. It happened a long time ago. It's not as traumatic as it was in the beginning. So at one point or another, yo, he's like, yo, yeah, this is what I'm here for. He hands me a newspaper article. Bro, I remember reading 3 lines saying that when the cops got to the scene, they were slipping and sliding over the blood in the kitchen. He was in there for some crazy shit. Nothing sexual or nothing weird, but crazy violent. Like, he was, I forgot what he was part of. I want to say he was a king, but he might have been like a Serrano. I don't know his story like that. I never went that deep. I was told and trained not to go that deep. So shit starts getting weird with him in the cell where he starts getting agitated. Like, he gets agitated out of nowhere. Like, oh, don't do this. Or, when you do this, don't do this too. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or I feel like he almost expected me to hang out with him outside of the cell, but I wasn't like that. Like, if I fucked with you heavy, that's how you would know, because I would hang around you outside of the cell when we wreck. No, I didn't chill with him at all. He had his people he went to. I had my people that I chilled and played cards with or sold art to. Well, at one point or another, this kid named Gio came in. And it's funny because Gio works right across the street from me to this day. He works at a job right across the street, and it's funny. He's from New Britain. This kid comes in, bro, and he's fucking hilarious. The kid's funniest kid I ever met in my life. Yells through the doors, calls CEOs faggots. Like, dude, he's hilarious, though. He's unhinged. He got kicked out of a gang for beating up people in the gang. So they had him in as an enforcer, and once he started not doing what they told him, they tried to put the muscle on him, but he was the muscle. So I always loved his story because it was like, dude, like he would be like, yo, fuck a gang. Like, this is what I've said to like big members and shit. Like they want to touch me bad, but like they literally had me in the gang for whooping people's asses. So like, how do you out muscle the muscle besides killing them? You know what I mean? So whatever, I wind up saying, yo, I'm going to get a cell switch. I've never done it before outside of like the first time I ever went to prison. So it was super hard, but I winded up getting in Geo cell. Bro, we were having a blast, dude. We were making pruno. We were, he got these pills, these IBS pills. I don't know if you know what IBS is, irritable bowel syndrome, but so he like smoking dust and like doing E-pills and getting fucked up outside in the world. So he's like, yo, I got these IBS pills, these little pills, right? He's like, bro, you take like 10 of them, bro. You start tripping. And I'm like, all right, like get him. He's like, all right, watch, I'm going to get him. He had a real slick way of getting her whatever he wanted from the doctor. He was prescribed Wellbutrin, all that. Bro, I remember one day he came up to me during rec and he's like, here, take these. And I was like, damn, it's like 14 pills. I take them all. Bro, at that point, after that night that I took those pills, I was like, you know what, dude, I think I want to be sober. I think I want to do the sober thing. Because those pills, the way they made me feel, I was like, nah, they're doing something real bad to you. Like, I couldn't read words that were this close to me. I was like, nah, dude, these things I'm not doing no more, whatever. We used to sell them and shit, and it was cool because we'd get shaken down. It would literally be on the sleeves they gave us for medication, and they'd be like, oh, we know there's something in here. They're looking under the sleeve of what we're selling. So it was funny. Well, I didn't know this, but Geo had a way of getting money without getting money, and that was figuring out who's on the block and pretty much charging them to live on the block. So me and him used to swipe IDs, prison IDs, because you need to have it when you're out and about on the tier. We would either ask people for them or get them, and we used to charge them rent. So we had people that were rippers. I remember this one time there was this kid that came to the unit who buzzed around us for a little bit too longer when we were already into the mix of this, and we were like, get his name. He told us his name in fucking 5 minutes. So Gio, he would call his girl home. All right, run the math on him. That kid was there for a whole slew of drug charges out of Hartford, and he got caught prostituting a 15-year-old girl. So the night before, we were like, all right, let's see what else we can get out of him before we tell him what it is. So we were like, you got CDs? You got CDs? CD player? Yeah. Lewis, you want to use my CD player? Yeah, everything. Everything you can give us. Yeah, straight. We go in the cell. I want to say it was a day or two later. Yo, you guys going to slide over anything? We sat him down. We were like, bro, this is what it is. Bro, you can't do that to me. Like, I'm part of the solids. Like, blah, blah, blah. We're like, yeah, well, that doesn't stand for shit. Right now, your position is you could either pack your shit up and leave and go to the box and have them put you somewhere else, or you could fight one of us, and you don't want to fight one of us because it would be 2-on-1, and or me or him could whoop your ass. That's it. And we would probably wind up celebrating about it after we did it for what your charges are. So he brought his dad down. His dad was a maintenance guy. And he was like, I'm going to bring my dad down here. He's a fucking solid. We were like, bring your fucking dad down here. We don't care, dude. Bring him down. Bro, his dad was there the next day with a CO. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, this dude got juice. He's coming down to he's coming down to areas and shit in the jail where you don't just get to go to different places in jail. You know what I'm saying? You wait, the CO brings you, and just by chance, unless it's like going to like church or something. You know what I mean? So this dude's dad comes up to me. He's like, yo, what's the math? What's going on? I said, I don't know. You asked your son what he's here. You asked your son what he's here for? Nah. Blah, blah, blah. He said this, that, and the third. That's not what he's here for. I literally seen a grown man tell his son, you're no longer my son, and walk away from him. But, you know, we would do $75 a week. We didn't let them eat at all. I think there was one or two that I think at one point I gave like a soup or two to at one point. Because, like,
nice,
just because, like, I don't know, man, from where I was to where I was, like, then now, it was like, here. Like, here's a soup. You know, it's slop night. Here's a soup of their money. But it's like, dude, you do that shit to children. I don't even like people that put their hands on women, but I know that it happens sometimes, and like I know that like I've been close to putting my hands on a woman, so I could relate. But anything with children, anything with rape, anything with child pornography, like no, you're dead to rights. You're food. You know what I'm saying? Started to get that mentality. And then the last part is one day I get called out by name while I'm on the tier in Q-Pod. I'm getting called out by name, and I'm like, what the fuck? I haven't seen anybody I know in a while. I know everybody that comes here. Yo, you're Guns' cousin. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? I don't ever talk about my cousin Guns in jail, because in jail you don't tell people who you know, because there might be the potential that they'll tee off on you because they're ops. You know, that's just the dynamic. I was taught to think smarter than to tell people who my family is and who I involve myself with. Well, he turns out to be a lifer, like a big-time lifer out of state. Got caught with 2 bodies in his trunk type shit. Real cool dude named Noah Gladys. I love him to death, like a brother. One of the most clear-minded people I've ever met in my life for the cards that he's been dealt. He pulls up his shirt and he's like, your cousin did this to me. Huge devil fucking, I don't even know, like a huge devil piece on his back. Like it looked like it took months to do. I'm like, oh shit. And essentially throughout the rest of my time there, he looked out for me. At one point, Gio had left, and it was just me, and I was back to not really having much in jail, so I was tattooing people on the free time, made it cool with some COs that let me do it. CO was like, wow, dude, that's cool, looking in the door and shit, and then letting me know when the bad COs are coming through. And yeah, man, it just became one of those things where like jail became like a normal thing. And like I just remember one day thinking about it. I was like, I'm sipping my Pruno. I think it was like New Year's or Christmas Eve. And I was just like, dude, like it's fucked, man. Like I could live here forever at this point. Cause it's like
You got comfortable.
super comfortable, like almost comfortable to the extent where it's like I could do 5 years, no problem. And I was prepping myself for that. I was literally prepping myself for that amount of time. Like, I was like, fuck it. If I'm going to be the Q-Pod guy for a while, I might as well have fun while I'm doing it. I was on anything that I did wouldn't do anything but put me right back to where I came from. So I became numb to it. So at one point, I didn't want to go back to phase 1. And then at one point or another, I said, oh, whatever. I'm going to get out eventually. I don't care. I've already been through the worst of it. What's the worst that could happen?
So what ends up happening? How much time do you get for the case?
I got called into court one day, and my attorney brought me into the little room with the locked door and was like, I have some really good news for you. They want to give you a real good deal. And I said, what? They want to give you 19 months. And I was like, what? 19 months? I was like, hell yeah, bro. Like, that's what? Like a little bit with the time I had left from the 18th months or whatever or something like that. I don't know. It was close to almost 2 years. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yeah, bro, fucking slide it. And he's like, no, Lewis, no. They're going to run it concurrent. And I'm like, how did you do that? And he's like, bro, the crime of passion. He's like, it was over a girl. You didn't escape because you were dodging new charges or anything, dude. And like, technically they caught you in 4 hours. He's like, I told you this is the route we should take and you were patient, but yeah. He's like, that's what you're going to cop out to. And I believe it was either 19 months ran concurrent or 15 months ran concurrent. But they counted it from the day that I caught the charge. So mind you, the 3 months I was already in for didn't count. But regardless, I did it so early on, it didn't fucking matter. So I was like, yeah, dude, dude, when I got sentenced for that charge, dude, I had the biggest smile on my face. Because, like, the judge even acknowledged that. He's like, this could have went real bad. He said, this could have went real fucking bad for you if it went a different way. Like, he's like, if you would have been out for a little bit longer or you would have went to another state and became another person's problem, we'd be asking for a lot more. Like, the minimum's 5. But considering the fact of you leaving from a level 2 facility, not hurting anybody, giving back the car, explaining in full detail what you did, we're going to look out. And on top of it, you really haven't gotten in that much trouble. And I'm like, dude, anybody that gets in trouble with AS, it's either you're hitting a cop or you're fucking stabbing somebody. Like, and I'm not that type of person. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I went back to Q-Pod with the good news to my boys, and they were just so excited for me. And, you know, it was bittersweet telling my boy Noah because he's never getting out. But he was still happy about it for me. He was still like, you deserve to be out, bro. Like, it's your life. Like, calmest dude I ever met, lifer. And, like, he had a routine, and he just wanted to bid. That's it. He wanted to be able to call home to his family. But there was one point where he definitely almost crashed out on a guy, and he was like, I'm gonna kill him for you getting out, dude. Like, I'm gonna kill him for you and Guns. Tell Guns I did it for him. And I'm like at the door, like, dude, no, you're gonna go to a different state. You're gonna go through it all over again. Don't do that. You know what I mean? But he didn't, and he didn't crash out. And I talked him off that like ledge, and I'm really glad I did, because like, even though his life is essentially not a full life, I still took somebody that was about to make a bad decision and made him choose the better half. You know what I mean? And like, that means a lot to me, and I know that meant a lot to him, and that's what matters, you know?
How old were you when you got out of prison?
When I got out of jail, let's see, I got out of jail in 2020 at the top of it.
Right before COVID.
So I got out and COVID started. It's funny because I remember being on my bunk in Q-Pod, and my bunkie's TV was going off, and they were like, Donald Trump's trying to stop anybody coming in from China. And I'm like, yeah, that's smart to do if that's where it's coming from. But they were like still talking about students and people that need to. I was like, it's going to come in here. Like, there's no doubt about it. And sure as shit, I came out February 2019, no, or 2000, it was either 19 or 20 I came out, dude. No, it had to have been 20, because 19 would have been too soon. 2020 I got out, dude. Got out, probably hit like 3 bars, dude, and then they were like, yep, everything's closed up. Lived with my friend Zach, and at this point I had gotten off my, I had gotten on medication while I was in there for antidepressant. And I stopped taking them, and I shouldn't have stopped taking them. I should have weaned off of them. So then I went through a mental lapse with that, went into some toxic relationships, wound up in some car accidents. One got flipped with one chick, you know, a whole bunch of horrible stuff. The girl who I had a son with that left me in prison got into something bad with the person that she winded up getting pregnant with. So many moving parts, dude, and so much of a mess. And then it all leads up to 2023. I had just got an apartment above my cousin Guns' apartment. I'm working full-time at a restaurant where we're just being complete degenerates, where we're working. I'm seeing my kids here and there, but not as much as I should. Still drinking heavy, still partying, but not doing any of the... I'm working. I'm pretty much gambling and drinking. I'm on and off with the mother of my child, the one that left me in jail at this point, but we're not really dealing with each other. It's rough. She's gone through a lot. I have. I get a call June 16th of 2023, and I got a call that my mom was shot in the head in Waterbury while living with my cousin. I take a Uber to go to the hospital. She was on life support, essentially. She had a pipe in her throat, and they were keeping her alive. And, you know, Guns pulled up. My boy Joey in the next room, he pulled up. All my A1s pulled up because I wasn't big family oriented. And, she came up, the girl that left me. She pulled up because she always held my mom to a higher standard. And, it was a real emotional few days for me. My mom was a CNA and she loved taking care of people at one point of her life. And she was completely unconscious, but her body was there. Her body was pushing through, But she always told me that if anything like that ever happened to her, do the right thing. I don't want to live like that ever. So she was a donor, and I made the choice, I believe it was the end of the first day that I was there, that I wanted to take her off life support and try to use her organs to help somebody that might need them. Because that's what she always wanted to do. She always wanted to help people and be there for people because she's a gangster. And so I did that. I was right next to her, and I didn't leave her side. And they pulled the tube from her, and she kept breathing, and she kept living. And I sat in a hospital room with her. I didn't leave. People checked in, came and went, got me stuff, and August 20th, me and her, my mom was very big into African American culture, comedies. She loved Medea's. She loved DMX. My mom loved DMX. My mom loved Lil Wayne, like big into that culture. I didn't find rock music until I was in like upstate New York later on in my life. My mom was hood as it went, gangster to the fullest degree. And I remember me and her were watching think we were watching a Medea movie, and I was sitting there going through my phone, just holding her hand, talking to her, and the sound went off, and she left. And that was just so fucking crazy to me, because it's just like, dude, that was the only person that ever understood me, that like cared enough about me to talk to me about anything, who like cared, like no matter what, was always there, my bottom girl. Like I could always go to her for anything and she'll make it happen, whether it was boosting or, lying. She's gotten me out of so much and has done so much for me. And like, it's just one of those things where it's like I still struggle today without her, having her in my life.
I'm sorry for your loss, man.
Yeah. But I winded up staying back with the girl who left me in jail, and she took me in, and about, I don't know, a week or two later, she found out she was pregnant again. We were expecting a new baby. And I don't know if it was like it was just a weird thing, man. After my mom left, I didn't want to do anything bad ever again. So that brings me to the past 2 years where I've been doing everything differently. I invest in my children, and I'm a full-time dad. I'm now a full-time worker going on 2 years at a place that makes parts for Sikorsky in Connecticut. I don't know if you're familiar, but they make parts for planes and Black Hawks and stuff like that. And I'm a quality inspector for that now. And I've had some stuff pop up here and there, stuff pertaining to the relationship and, stuff going on with that. But I feel like I haven't broke my pace of moving forward in my life and creating a better environment for me and my children. So that's cool. And now I'm just steadily trying to get back into art, because when I got out in 2020, I started tattooing real time, and I wound up in a shop with my cousin for a while, and then I put it down, and I'm just so inconsistent now that he doesn't even he's like, if you're going to be around, but like, just do your thing. That's all I care. If you're going to do a tattoo, just show up for it.
Yeah.
But now I'm in full-time work, and I'm just trying to balance everything, man. A lot of moving parts. My
Takes
life's
time.
I mean, routine from prison, that kind of what got me into where I am now, man, is getting in the routine. And after you do the routine enough times, the days just go by themselves. You're just there. You know what I mean? So I got a real healthy dynamic going on. I still keep probably like my 5-day one still with me, Dude in the other room, I've known him for 20 years. He was back in Bristol in that garage I used to go and smoke out, and my mom used to give me mids, slap boxing me, beating my ass and shit. Like, bro, if in my life, if you're there for everything and we're still cool and we could still be proud of each other and go towards more positive shit, like, that's all I need. That's me. That's how I perceive things now. Because before I would just let anybody around me. And now that I have kids and now that I'm living in my, like, meaning, like, if you ain't part of my meaning, like, I'll dap you up and wish you the best, but you ain't staying a part of it.
What's one thing you wish you could go back in time and tell your 15-year-old self?
Honestly, the one thing would be to love my mom more and listen to my mom more. And that's two things, but that's the two biggest things because I took her for granted all those times that I ran out and thought selfishly to try to look cool to other people. And I'm sure she knows now. I'm not a huge believer in God, but I believe in a higher power, and I'm sure she, like, is looking down right now, super happy and super impressed with how I'm doing, how I'm gangstering through life just like she would have,
Definitely. Well, Lou, thanks so much for coming on the show today, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
You did great telling your story.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm used to, like, seeing you ask questions back and forth and a little bit more feedback.
Nah,
but I
the
feel
best episodes are when I don't have to talk. Man.
Yeah, you like those ones? Yeah.
People love
no
us.
shit. Yeah, I mean, this is my thing is that, like, I've been telling this story, like the jail and the escape and the AS part for so long that, like, you could obviously see I've been telling this story for so long because it just comes out. But it's like I'm so tired of telling the story that, like, it's cool, like, that when this video is made, I could just give them a link and be like, hey, this is my story. You
did really good, man. You did good.
But, yeah, man, I really enjoyed being on here, and I'm looking forward to some of the other content. I'm going to give you my links to give people.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description of this episode.
My personal one is just me and my kids, so if maybe you want to check up and see how I'm doing in my life. And then I got the tattoo shop with my cousin. You could go check out and see Guns in real life. He's always doing dope art. And then I'm going to do my clothing line one because, hey, I plan on dropping some new stuff. And if anybody's interested, real big focus around skateboarding and rap, real big into the culture in general. And, we get loopy. You know what I'm saying? Me and my cousin get loopy. We know some dudes from BSF and stuff like that, Benny the Butcher and all that. So we deal with people that deal with them. So we're always trying to expand. So as far as being able to let me do that, I appreciate that as well. And I'm sure Guns would too. I'm sure that's somebody you could look into for an interview. He's got quite the story.
Who, Guns?
Yeah, my cousin.
Tell him to come on, man.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd love to have Guns.
I'm calling him right after this.
Yeah, tell Guns let's get something scheduled.
Hell yeah.
That'd
absolutely,
be fun.
Man.